Hello, it is your Astro Coach Sarah here for Wellness Astrology, this time for the moon in Gemini. This is April 1 through 3, so rabbit on April 1st. And so I'm not fooling. Definitely want to say rabbit at the beginning of every month. It sets the tone for good luck. Rabbits are good luck, fertility, all of those sorts of things. And fertility is not just about getting pregnant and popping out babies. Fertility is about abundance. It's about creating, fertility in your livelihood, in your wellness, in your life, in your finances, and all of those things. So think about fertility in like a grander scheme of things than not just popping out babies. Um, okay, so moon's in Gemini. Now, what I didn't mention at the Taurus moon, probably because I hadn't looked far enough ahead, which tends to be the case sometimes. Sometimes I just don't look far enough ahead to see a grander picture of the week ahead or something like that. But as the moon moves through Taurus, as it's going to move through Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, even into Libra, it's going to aspect all of the Pisces, Aries stuff. And why is that significant now more than ever? I feel like it's because now Neptune's in Aries, so there's no softening the blow in Pisces. Pisces is now Saturn, Venus, North Node, Mercury. So as this moon moves through Gemini, and certainly after it gets past Jupiter about midway through, but on towards as we get into April 2nd, which would be Wednesday, I think, and maybe early in the hours on Thursday, it's going to square the Pisces placements, which is Saturn, Venus, North Node, and Mercury. So I feel like this could be information overload, as I often talk about. When we talk about moons in Gemini, we're talking about the nervous system, because things happen very rapidly, very quickly, very fast paced, which can be very destabilizing for many of us. And so, be attentive to your nervous system, your ability to regulate yourself, and things like that. And by that, I mean, like, are you taking time to slow the fuck down in the in the midst of everything moving zippity zappity fast? Because now we have Neptune and Aries. So the energy is speeding up because it's fire, it's initiation. Think about the takeoff of the airplane. That first initial takeoff point. You go upward really quickly, right? Before you level off, right? So when we have like this cardinal fire energy with the sun exalted, and Neptune now, like that's all zippity zappity. Many of us have been feeling this for a minute. I think I've been feeling Neptune moving into Aries for like a couple weeks. Just because my energy has definitely shifted and I've had to be very intentional and purposeful about resting and chilling out and relaxing and whatnot and trying not to go 90 miles an hour because my nervous system, my physical body cannot handle ongoing bout. Like I can go fast a couple of days and then I have to take a day off, right? At most like 3 days. I've done 3 days in a row, but certainly ever since I started doing healing work, spiritual work, for the better part of the last 8 years or so, I have really had to learn that me taking a day off is me literally in my PJs for like an entire day, probably laying in my bed multiple times a day and purposefully resting. And so as we get more into this, now I am dominant air and water in my chart and my natal chart. And that matters because some people can ride the wave of fast-paced energy. Some people can, others can't. And it really depends on how much of fire you have in your chart, probably even like fire and air. So that means I can have like bursts of fast energy, but then I have to take time to regulate my body, regulate my nervous system, calm myself down. It's okay. And I feel like that takes some self-compassion to do that. And so, because it can be labeled as lazy, but I refuse to treat it as me being lazy, because I think that when I don't do it, I am not a happy person and I'm not fun to be around. And people who know me really well know that. I also get very hangry. Like if I'm hungry, it's a problem for everybody around me, because I'm simply just not pleasant. So these are things to be very attentive to in your like primal instinct of your body, right? And so because these can affect your nervous system, right? And so, as we're moving through these moon transits this week, really feel into how your body is responding to different things that are unfolding. Right. I know some people right now who are very dysregulated because of the circumstances that they're in, and they're working on changing it, but in the meantime, they are not, they're so frazzled, that, it's hard for them to calm down at any given point. I know other people, like I said, that are riding high, that are doing great. I do think it depends on how well you are at knowing how and when to regulate, calm yourself, rest, all of those things, and not making excuses for it. I think that that matters as we move forward. Because I think people who are kind of flying high energetically, it's because they know when they need to take a day off, and they take, like, that's how you kind of collapse time, is that you take that time to intentionally, purposefully, no excuses, rest and allow yourself to get regulated, get stabilized, get secure, all of those things, before you move into the next layer or level of a project or of a situation. So really be attentive to your nervous system, be attentive to how much information you are taking in, get offline, all of those things. Um, get away from the media, all of those things. Like those are still important, especially now that Mercury is back in Pisces. And so, be attentive to how much of that you're taking in, especially now that we have more. So I'm recording this on Saturday, March 29th. And we have just heard that there was a huge earthquake in Thailand. And so, thoughts and prayers to all those folks. I know there was several build structure collapses and things like that. And I heard that there was an earthquake in New Zealand. And so I don't know how much damage. I haven't seen any reports, but I would say some. And so the earth is definitely quaking, it's talking, and all of that. And so remember, astrology is objective. And so just because it's not happening in your backyard, in your neighborhood, doesn't mean it's not happening somewhere. So be aware of that. And some of us um, can be affected by what's happening to other people, even if you don't know who those people are, right? And so you've got to kind of be a little more attentive to how you respond and react to catastrophic situations. Because it's fine to be compassionate and understanding, but disconnect or detach yourself from those things so that you can regulate yourself. Okay. And this is some work that a lot of people need to do. So, and some have been practicing it for a long time in preparation for this time. So, anywho, take good care of yourself. Take good care of your physical body as we are moving through these transits. This is some new energy, and also still some old energy with all that Pisces. There's still a lot of grief, letting go. Things are definitely kind of untangling, reshuffling, coming apart, and all of those things. And so, but yeah, when I was looking through the charts this week, it really felt like, why does this feel different? Why does it feel different that the moon aspects Pisces at pretty much every, through Taurus, through Gemini, through Cancer, through Leo, through Virgo? And I thought, oh, it's because there's no Neptune in Pisces to kind of soften the blow. It's now going to hit pretty raw, which I feel like changes the tone of the experience of Pisces. We've had Neptune in Pisces since 2011. So, we don't have that anymore. Um, So there could be some spicier conversations, like people saying, one more strike and you're out and we're done. People could say, you know what, fuck it, I'm done. I'm moving forward. I got to do what I got to do for me. I mean, this is a moon in Gemini. Conversations like that could happen. That being said, Mercury is back in Pisces where he's at fall. And so it's not, the easiest, Neptune's kind or boy, Mercury's kind of murky right now. But Venus is exalted. So, and Saturn, I mean, this could be these next couple weeks could be really interesting how they play out with things. I feel like knowing what you need and what you want your life experience to be and taking a stand in your leadership and your sovereignty and your warrior-like energy is going to be helpful with all of that. And in the tarot, Star Trek Next Gen Tarot, we got the Star in reverse. Leslie Crusher. Ooh, in reverse. Okay. Um, if you are feeling dimmed out or you're feeling slow-mo or you're feeling like FOMO even, what is it? What is it? Fear of missing out. FOMO is fear of missing out. If you're feeling like slow-mo, slow motion, if you're feeling those kinds of things, it's okay because Mercury and Venus are still retrograde. So it's okay. It's okay. Just put your seeds, your plans in place, you're still getting that preparation mode to getting your shit together, right? You're still in that. We're still in the deep waters of the ocean, even though Neptune's moved. Boy, I'm gonna fuck that up every time, aren't I? Even though Neptune has moved into Aries, we still have those two personal planets, Mercury and Venus, retrograde in Pisces. We also still have Mars in Cancer, where he's not at his best, okay? But trust me, by the end of this month, we get those two Pisces planets direct, and we'll get Mars out into Leo, and we'll get a little more spicy energy and a little bit more motivation. But remember that while motivation gets you to the door, discipline gets you to the workout, right? Or in any circumstance. Motivation might get you to your desk, discipline makes you put down your phone and start writing, right? Whatever that looks like for you, right? Getting your grocery shopping done, getting your cleaning done, right? You can get the vacuum out, but you don't use it, right? You can get the laundry done, but you don't put it away. Okay, these are all things that I do, guys. Um, so if you don't feel like you are completely fired up about what's happening for you right now because it's like, why is this moving like molasses in January? It's because it is moving like molasses in January. It's Neptune in Aries. It's not like it's not like it's Mars in Aries that would feel really pumped up. It's the polar opposite. It's Neptune. It's just this, it's like, oh, what? But you do feel some sort of motivation to move forward. So take advantage, but also know that it's still going to take some patience, some grief, some letting go, some readjustment before things get really amped up and going. And just for giggles, we'll get a clarifier card. We got the King of Batleths upright. I can't remember which Klingon this is. I never can remember, but that's okay because the King of Batless upright. This is the King of Swords, the warrior. This is having the ability to, even if you don't feel like you are your shiniest and best, you're still able to stand in your leadership, your warrior, your sovereignty, and keep standing for yourself and knowing that what you want is in preparation. This is you. This is like the distance between like what you want is over here where my right hand is like where I'm making hand gestures, stupid hand gestures, right? So I'll put my thumb up. Or maybe I'll do a peace sign because isn't thumbs up now like flipping people off in younger people's world? So I'll do a peace sign. Here's what you want. Peace sign. Here's where we are over here in the turquoise light. Okay. There's a distance between where you want to be and where you are right now that has to close that gap. And that gap's going to take a long time, maybe most of April, maybe even into May, June, maybe even beyond that to get closed. So be patient, but also be disciplined. Saturn is still in Pisces. Be disciplined to keep it together and keep it moving forward, even if it feels discouraging. This is the last 5 miles of a marathon. If you've ever been followed a marathon or talked to a marathoner, it's they hit mile 21 of 26.2 and holy shit, right? This is the last of the dissertation. This is the last of the what's the other example I usually use? This is the last of the dissertation, the marathon. There's another one that I used to use. It's the long haul, like you're on a long road trip and it feels like it's never ending, right? All of those types of scenarios, right? It feels like it's never ending right now, but it's okay to stay the course. It's going to be fine. You have to keep standing in your leadership, in your warrior, in your sovereignty, and it's going to be okay. Okay? Okay. I'm in there too, guys. I'm in there too. I got some slow moving processes happening in my own world. Um, that I am just like being really patient and taking care of things. I said it in my Aries Sun and Rising Signs video that I was taking care of some health stuff. Well, that stuff can't, that doesn't just, I had to make appointments and I have to get to appointments. But from what I've taken care of so far, everything's looking good. In the angels and ancestors, we got summer. Well, that's interesting. Um, Bask in joy and light. Hmm. I feel like this has everything to do with, do you know what that feels like? To bask in the joy and the light of life. Do you know what that feels like for you? Because I know what that feels like for me, and I know that I have not been feeling that, and I want to go back to being feeling that. And so I'm the one who has to do what I have to do to go back to the feelings of joy and light. Now, I haven't been completely like derailed and off into a deep depression, but it hasn't been the best of the last few years. And so it hasn't been the easiest because I haven't had public transit and I haven't had the luxury resources that I'm used to having for my life. And so, do you know what this feels like for you? Do you even know what that experience feels like to be in joy and in light? Because if you don't, here's the thing I'm going to say, okay? Because y'all, I've mentioned it a few times on here that I'm planning a relocation because I know what it feels like to be joyful, to be happy, to have resources and all of the things that I haven't had for the last few years. But I did consciously choose to be where I'm at, so I don't regret what I did. But there's a lot of people who think that if they relocate, that problem solved. And I'm here to tell you, as somebody who's lived in a few different places in my lifetime, don't matter where you go, your problems will follow you there because you do not offload that baggage until you deal with that. So if you are like thinking about ditching your relationship, if you are thinking about relocation, if you are thinking about quitting your job and restarting because blah, 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 really consider what part of the problem or the discomfort or the dissatisfaction, what part of that is you? Okay. Because I'm telling you, I relocated in 2019 to California, and thankfully, I had a coach with me at the time. I was working with a coach who had done the same thing, transplanted herself from the Midwest to California. And I'm glad I did because she knew stuff I didn't know was coming, but she knew it was coming because she had been there before. And that's the advantage of having a coach or a support person, a mentor with you to help you through something like that. And so if you're thinking that like leaving the relationship, the grass is greener in the next relationship, but if you haven't dealt with your role, your responsibility in that relationship, in that job, in that place where you live, in that scenario, if you haven't dealt with your participation in that thing, whatever it is, it will come with you to the next relationship, next job, next place you live, whatever, whatever, whatever. If you're dissatisfied, look in the mirror first before you go traipsing off and cutting ties when you haven't figured out that you're actually the problem. Hey, that's like a really bitter pill to swallow, but it's one that's necessary before people make really quick, abrupt decisions that change their life. And then they're like, oh shit, it was me the whole time. So been there, done that. I'm actually in the process of actually writing the book about it. So anyway, all right, that's what I got for this moon in Gemini. Have a great couple of days here, and I will talk to you on the next video. Bye for now.